Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are doing something a little different. We are looking at history, but
Yeah.
we're looking at it sideways.
Sideways. I like that.
You know how sometimes you look at an old photo and you realize the shadows are pointing in the wrong direction?
Yeah.
That is exactly where we are today.
It's the perfect way to put it. We are stepping into 1893. But not the 1893 you're thinking of. Not the one with the Chicago World's Fair or the big stock market panic you might, remember from history class.
Right.
We are in a world that looks almost identical to ours on the surface. Same clothes, same industrial soot, same struggles, except for this one humming, vibrant difference buried just under the floorboards. Magic. But, and this is so crucial right off the bat, we aren't talking about the sparkly, wave a wand and fix it kind of magic.
No.
We are digging into The Once and Future Witches by Alix E. Harrow, specifically the first big chunk from the introduction all the way through chapter 9. And the magic here, it's dirty, it's hidden, it's something you do in the dark when you're desperate.
And it is illegal.
Yeah.
I think that is the hook that grabs you immediately. The whole premise isn't just, oh, witches exist. It's that witches used to exist, they were almost completely wiped out, and now in 1893, in this place called New Salem, they were trying to claw their way back.
Exactly. And that creates this incredible tension from page 1. You have the women's suffrage movement, women fighting for the vote, a very real, very historical struggle.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the supernatural element crashed right into the middle of it. The book is basically asking, can you just vote your way to power? Or at some point, do you have to just take it?
So, okay, before we get to the sisters, and we absolutely have to talk about the Eastwood sisters because they are a mess in the most compelling way possible.
Yeah.
Let's set the scene. New Salem.
Yeah.
And the name alone gives you a shiver, right? Salem?
It absolutely should. Because in this world, old Salem, the one we all know from the witch trials, it was burned, purged, it's gone. New Salem is built on top of that, and it's called the City Without Sin.
Which just sounds astonishingly boring.
Yeah, and oppressive. The source text describes it as relentlessly gray, industrial, sober. It's a place where they've deliberately leached all the color and the wildness out of life just to maintain order.
No flower boxes, the only birds are pigeons. It's sterile.
It's sterile, but, and this is where it gets really, really interesting, magic isn't actually gone. It's just, well, it's been domesticated.
That's the perfect word for it. Domesticated. It's described as this red heartbeat on the other side of everything, but in New Salem, respectable people pretend it doesn't exist.
But poor folks, working folks, oh, they still use it.
Right. But for tiny, almost invisible things, we read about little charms to keep the soup pot from boiling over, or maybe to make peonies bloom a little bit out of season.
Or men using it for, fixing an axe handle. Or keeping a roof from leaking. It's become strictly gendered and strictly utilitarian.
If it keeps the house running, it's tolerated. Barely.
But if it's wild, if it's for power, that's a burning offense. Literally.
And there is a system to it, which I love. It's not just waving your hands around. The sources are very clear about the three components of a spell.
The will, the words, and the way.
Right. You need the intent. That's your will.
Your desire.
Then you need a spoken rhyme. The words. Usually something simple, something that sounds like a nursery rhyme.
And finally, you need a physical component, the way. And it's usually something small and overlooked, like a knot in a string or a specific herb or a piece of cobweb.
So you have this repressed magic simmering under the surface, and you have this repressed population. Women cannot vote.
And these two massive forces are just clashing in the city. On one side, you have the New Salem Women's Association, who are the suffragists.
And on the other, you've got the Women's Christian Union, who are pretty much the anti-vice, anti-witch, anti-fun brigade.
And looming over all of this is this politician named Gideon Hill and his morality party.
We're going to talk a lot more about Gideon Hill later because, the man's shadow moves on its own, which is a giant red flag in my book.
A massive, massive red flag. But first, we have to talk about the Eastwood sisters, because this entire story, this whole world, it all hinges on their dynamic.
The Wayward Sisters. Let's introduce them. You have that classic fairy tale archetype, right? The three sisters.
But the author, Harrow, subverts them immediately. You'd expect, the maiden, the mother, and the crone. And while those labels kind of apply, the characters themselves either reject them or twist them into something new.
And they're estranged. This is so important. They haven't spoken in 7 years. They all left their home in a place called Crow County separately, all to escape an abusive father.
So let's start with the youngest, the catalyst, James Juniper.
And what a name, James.
She is the spark. She's described as wild, almost feral, with hair that's ragged and black as crow feathers. And when we meet her, she is arriving in New Salem on the run.
On the run for murder.
For implied patricide, to be specific. She thinks she killed their father. She has a bad leg from a barn fire in her childhood. She carries this red cedar staff everywhere, and she is just absolutely fueled by rage.
She really, truly is. Her entire motivation isn't just about safety. It's about a fight. She wants to burn it all down.
And we see that immediately. There's that moment when she gets off the train, she sees a wanted poster with her own face on it, and a police officer starts hassling her.
And this is our first real look at combat magic, or at least defensive magic.
It is. She uses a tangled web spell. She has a little bit of cobweb and a prickly finger. That's the way. She says the rhyme, the words, and her will is just pure, desperate survival instinct.
And boom, she blinds the officer with this magical web and just vanishes into the crowd.
It sets her tone perfectly. She is not here to be polite. She's not here to ask nicely.
Now you have to contrast her with the middle sister, Agnes Amaranth.
Oh, Agnes. She's the mother figure, but she is resisting that role with everything she has.
Right. She works at a cotton mill, the Baldwin Brothers Mill. She's described as strong, steady, hair as shining and black as a hawk's eye, but her motivation is purely survival. She just wants to keep her head down.
And she has a secret, a huge one.
She's pregnant and unmarried.
Which in 1893 is an incredibly precarious position to be in. She is terrified. She actually considers using pennyroyal tea to end the pregnancy.
Yeah.
Not because she doesn't want the child, but because she doesn't want to bring a child into a world where she can't protect it. It's heartbreaking.
There's that line about her drawing a circle around herself. She spent 7 years building this wall, isolating herself just to stay safe.
Exactly. In her mind, she had to abandon her sisters to survive, and now she's just constructed this fortress of indifference to protect herself and her baby.
And that brings us to the oldest, Beatrice Belladonna.
Bella, the crone, even though she's not actually old at all. She's the wise one, the quiet one, the scholar. She works as a librarian at Salem College, and she literally hides in books.
I identify with Beatrice so much. Just leave me alone with my research, please.
Me too. But her research is dangerous. She's obsessed with what she calls the lost way. She has this theory that magic wasn't fully destroyed, it was just hidden.
Encrypted.
Yes. And she finds a clue. She finds a hidden verse in a rare first edition of Grimm's fairy tales that makes a direct reference to the Wayward Sisters.
So you have these 3 women, all in New Salem, but living completely separate lives, total strangers to each other now. And then comes the spring equinox, St. George's Square.
This is the catalyst, the big inciting incident. Fate, or maybe something much stronger, pulls all 3 of them to the exact same place at the exact same time.
There's a big suffragist rally happening. The leader, Miss Katie Stone, is giving this fiery speech about rights. The whole atmosphere is tense, angry.
And they all have a reason to be there. Juniper is there because she wants to join the fight. She's looking for the association. Agnes is just trying to pass through on her way home from the mill. And Beatrice is just leaving the college library.
And then the air changes.
It really does. The text describes the wind suddenly smelling like old magic earth and char and wild roses.
And the sky tears open.
It's such a visceral image. The sky literally rips, and for a few seconds, superimposed over the gray city square, is this vision of a dark, ancient tower covered in thorns and ivy with crows circling it.
And on the door of this impossible tower, both Beatrice and Juniper see a specific symbol.
3 interlaced circles, the sign of the last 3 witches.
This is the moment where that magic system, the will, the words, and the way, it just comes together so beautifully and so accidentally.
It's incredible. The sisters don't know the others are there, but they instinctively cast this massive spell together.
So let's break that down. Who provides what?
Juniper, without a doubt, provides the will. That raw, red, furious rage and her desperate desire for power.
Beatrice provides the words. She starts chanting the rhyme she found in the Grimm book, almost without thinking. The Wayward Sisters, hand in hand.
Exactly. And Agnes. Agnes provides the way. And this is so poignant. It's her body. The book specifies it's her blood and her milk, the physical connection to life, to creation, to her own secret.
So they accidentally summon this vision, this bridge to the tower. And then just as quickly, it snaps shut. The tower vanishes. Chaos erupts in the square. Yeah. And the 3 sisters are left standing there, just staring at each other.
And it is not a happy reunion.
No, not at all. I think as a reader, you expect this tearful hug, but you get bitterness, so much bitterness.
You get 7 years of trauma laid bare. Juniper feels completely abandoned because they left her alone with their abusive father.
Right. You left me.
And Agnes feels guilty, but also defensive because in her mind, she had to leave to survive. Beatrice is just completely overwhelmed by all of it.
And Juniper wastes no time. She drops a bomb on them pretty quickly. She tells them their father is dead.
And that line, dead men usually stay put.
Chilling. Just chilling.
Yeah.
It removes the one monster that united them in fear, but it leaves all the scars between them completely exposed.
So they retreat to Agnes's tiny little boarding house room, and it is cramped and it is awkward and it is full of unspoken things.
But they are back together. And this event, the tower, it kicks off the central mystery of this whole first act. What was that tower, and how did they get it back?
And that leads us directly into Beatrice's investigation. She becomes convinced that folklore, all those old stories, they act as a kind of encryption.
I love this concept so much. The idea that when the witch purges happened, the witches didn't just die. They hid their knowledge in the one place powerful men would never think to look.
Children's stories, nursery rhymes.
Exactly. Men dismiss these things as old wise tales or silly nonsense for children. But Beatrice starts to believe they're actually survival manuals.
It's brilliant. The text gives us some really great examples. A tangled web she weaves isn't just a saying, it's a literal distraction spell.
The one Juniper used.
The very same one. Or sugar and spice and everything nice isn't about being a sweet little girl. It's a spell to soothe someone's temper.
Little girl blue, come blow your horn. A waking spell. These things are hidden in plain sight.
And Beatrice finds one specific story that becomes key. The tale of the sleeping maiden.
This is a complete inversion of the Sleeping Beauty story we all know.
Totally. In the version Beatrice finds in this old forgotten book, the maiden isn't a passive victim who pricks her finger by accident. She's a powerful witch who does it on purpose. It's a blood spell.
She puts the whole kingdom to sleep so that she can rule it herself.
Exactly. She seizes power. And the hero of the story, St. George.
He's the villain.
He's the villain in this version. He comes and burns her tower to the ground to break her spell. He is literally the destroyer of female power. It just completely flips the narrative of the benevolent knight saving the helpless damsel.
So Beatrice is in the library, digging into all this, but she starts to realize she's not alone. She's encountering resistance.
Supernatural resistance. It's so creepy. As she's reading, she sees a shadow hand actually trying to obscure the text in the book.
It's like the book itself is fighting her.
Something is. It suggests there's this active force out there trying to keep this knowledge hidden, even now.
But she also gets some help. And it comes from one of the absolute coolest characters in the book, Cleopatra Quinn.
Oh, absolutely. Cleopatra Quinn. She's a black journalist for the New Salem Defender, and she just walks into the library wearing a gentleman's coat and a derby hat.
Her style is impeccable.
And the chemistry between her and Beatrice is, well, it's palpable from their first conversation. But Cleopatra serves this really crucial narrative role, too. She completely challenges Beatrice's very white, very academic view of history.
Right. Beatrice thinks magic was burned out during the trials.
Mm-hmm.
Cleopatra just scoffs at that.
She points out that witching survived. It just survived in the margins, among indigenous peoples, among enslaved people, among the communities that the powerful ignored. She has that incredible line, "Which blood runs thick in the sewers."
It's such a vital perspective shift for Beatrice and for the reader. Cleopatra knows about the three-circle symbol, too. She represents all this knowledge that white, respectable, academic Beatrice has been completely blind to.
So while Beatrice is doing all this intellectual heavy lifting,
Juniper is trying to take direct action. She goes and joins the New Salem Women's Association.
and here we see this incredible conflict within the movement itself. You have the president, Miss Katie Stone, and she believes heart and soul in respectability politics.
Which means what exactly?
It means we must be dignified, we must be peaceful, we must prove we are worthy of the vote by acting like perfect ladies. And most importantly, she wants to distance the movement from any and all accusations of witchcraft.
And Juniper is Juniper.
Juniper is the exact opposite. She wants to burn it all down. She walks right up to Miss Stone and explicitly tells her, I want to work on witching. She sees magic as the only weapon that can actually level the playing field against the men in power.
Miss Stone is absolutely horrified.
She is. She basically silences her. She assigns Juniper to menial tasks, painting signs, making coffee, keeping her out of sight.
There's also mention in the newspapers of a group called the Daughters of Tituba.
Yes, this rumored radical witch group that the police claim doesn't exist. They create fear in the establishment, and Miss Stone wants nothing to do with that image. She thinks it will destroy their chances of getting the vote.
But the establishment is already coming for them anyway.
Yeah.
And that brings us to Gideon Hill.
The antagonist. He's a candidate for mayor, running on this morality party ticket. And on the surface, he seems like this kind of mild-mannered, sort of wormy little man.
But the source material gives us these absolutely terrifying details about him.
His shadow.
The shadow.
It moves independently of his body. It's described as being darker and denser than a normal shadow. There's this one scene where Hill visits the suffragist HQ to shut down their permit for a march. And Agnes notices his shadow reaching out to grab her skirt, even while Hill's own hands are clasped behind his back.
That is pure nightmare fuel. And the dog, he has this dog that is just terrified of him.
The dog cringes away from him. Animals always know. Hill represents this encroaching supernatural misogyny. He's not just a politician. He's clearly a vessel for something much, much darker.
And the newspapers are his weapon. They're whipping up this fear about a second plague supposedly being caused by witches.
It's a classic moral panic, and it gives them an excuse to clamp down.
So the stakes are getting higher and higher. The city council, influenced by Hill, officially bans the suffragist march that was planned for the city's centennial fair.
And they use the witch panic as the official excuse, but this just pushes Juniper over the edge into full-on radicalism. She decides, fine, we're going to march anyway.
And she doesn't try to convince Miss Stone. She goes straight for the troublemakers of the association.
Right. She recruits Jenny Lind, the secretary, who has a broken nose and is way tougher than she looks. And Inez, the wealthy widow who's been funding them. Electa, the ones who are tired of being polite.
They prepare. Hats. White hats, it seems so innocent.
But Juniper spells them. The book has this great line, she spelled them straight to hell and back. She's turning a simple piece of ladies' fashion into armor, into a weapon.
It's such a brilliant use of that domestic magic trope. Who would ever suspect a lady's hat?
Nobody. Meanwhile, Agnes is still trying to stay out of it. She gets a note from Juniper challenging her to come to the fair. It just says, if you got the guts.
And Agnes is so conflicted, she doesn't know what to do. So she goes to see a fortune teller, a midwife named Madame Zena.
This scene is so important for Agnes's character arc.
The tarot reading.
Yes. She draws 3 cards. First, the Tower, which we, the readers, know represents destruction and upheaval, and it links directly back to the tower they all saw in the square.
Then she draws the 3 of Swords, heartbreak, pain, separation, her and her sisters.
And finally, she draws a card unique to this world, the 3 Witches.
The universe is practically screaming at her.
It is, and
Yeah.
Xenia gives her this moment of comfort, telling her there's no sin in her pregnancy, but the cards are basically shouting that she can't hide anymore.
But she tries. She leaves and she tries to run from it. She sees a Gideon Hill supporter on the street and spits on him, this rare, shocking moment where she loses control, but then she just flees.
So we head toward the climax of this whole section of the book, the Centennial Fair.
The setting is described so vividly. All these new electric lights, the smell of frying grease, but also these really sinister exhibits, like one called The Last Witch Doctor of the Congo.
Right. It emphasizes that this war on magic, this oppression, isn't just local, it's global, it's colonial.
And Juniper and her small crew, they infiltrate the crowd with their white hats hidden away, ready. And Juniper has brought 3 extra hats.
She's hoping. Despite all the fighting, all the bitterness, the abandonment, she still brought hats for her sisters.
The mayor is on stage giving a speech. Gideon Hill is in the crowd, watching with his creepy, creeping shadow. And the tension is just at a breaking point. Juniper is ready to unleash forbidden magic in a very public space for the first time in a century.
And that is exactly where our source material for today leaves us, just hanging right on the precipice of the first real battle for New Salem.
So let's unpack the themes here for a minute, because this is clearly not just a fantasy story about spells and towers.
No, not at all. It's so deeply rooted in the concept of sisterhood, but it's not the, the Hallmark card version of sisterhood.
No holding hands and singing.
Not at all. This sisterhood is messy. It's angry. It involves deep betrayal and resentment. But the text strongly suggests that this very friction is actually the source of their power. They are stronger because they are different, not in spite of it.
And the theme of power itself. The huge difference between asking for rights, which is what Miss Stone and the voters are doing.
And taking power, which is what magic allows the sisters to do.
That's the core tension of the whole book, isn't it? Can you really dismantle the master's house using the master's tools? Miss Stone is trying to use the vote, which is the master's tool.
And Juniper wants to use magic, which is the ultimate outsider's tool. She wants to burn the house down.
And finally, there's the theme of memory. The idea that what is lost can be found if you just know where to look, if you look in the margins.
It's a powerful call to action, really. It's asking you to look at the stories we dismiss. Nursery rhymes, folklore, women's gossip. The book posits that these aren't just trivial things. They're actually repositories of power and history that the dominant culture tried and failed to completely erase.
It really makes you wonder if the stories we tell children are actually survival manuals for the oppressed. What other nursery rhymes are we overlooking in our own world?
That's the question to ponder, isn't it? What are we all singing to our kids without ever realizing what it truly means?
A fascinating place to stop. We will be back next time to see what happens when those white hats finally come out at the Centennial Fair. Thanks for listening.